We appreciate all of the guests who have appeared on our show and sincerely thank them for providing you, our audience, with useful information. However, the advice our guests provide is theirs, and we encourage you to seek out a professional if you have specific questions about any topic we cover on the Crushing Debt podcast. On this week's episode of the podcast, what happens when you win the lottery?
Welcome to the Crushing Debt Podcast with your host, Florida attorney Sean Yesner, where our goal is to help you get rid of the financial bullies in your life.
So welcome back to the Crushing Debt Podcast. My name is Sean Yesner, owner and founder of Yesner Law, and I have a special guest this week. Before I get to my guest, however, I do want to mention one of our show sponsors, Sam Cohen with Attorneys First Insurance. Those of you that are longtime listeners know that Sam writes errors and omissions insurance or malpractice coverage or E&O insurance for attorneys and title companies all over the country. Now, he has a particular focus in Florida and Texas, but he can literally write anywhere in the country. So what Sam is looking for is an attorney or title company that's just starting out that may need a quote on its errors and omissions policy. And the way you can get a hold of Sam is sam@attorneysfirst.com or www.attorneysfirst.com. A great way to support me, a great way to support the show, is to support Sam by making that introduction for him. But I am excited to get to my guest this week. Now, normally I would do a long-winded introduction for my guest, but I'm going to sort of let my guest talk about and for himself for a little bit. So my guest this week is George Curbello with Curbello Financial Coaching. Welcome, George.
What's up, Sean? How you doing?
Tell us a little bit, what is a financial coach?
So a financial coach is someone who is always focused on the behaviors and habits when it comes to finances. So as much as I'd like to think, hey, go do YouTube and go learn how to do a budget. Go learn how to manage your money itself. And it's so easy. But for me, I'm the accountability partner that kind of works with individuals to make those things, the things that you learn about money and putting them into practice.
Nice. Okay, so George's contact information, you can find him on the web at curbellofinancialcoaching.com or gcfinancialcoach21@gmail.com. And again, I'll put all that in the notes so you can contact George. But George is here local in the Tampa Bay area with me, and so we are actually in the office recording, and so you probably want to get the mic a little closer.
Oh, a little closer. Sorry about that.
No worries. So we're here. We've talked a couple of times on the phone. We've gone through a couple of things. I know in a couple episodes ago, I was talking about actively looking for a co-host, and so George and I connected, and we've talked a couple of times, and we decided, you know what, let's fire up the mics and record a couple of episodes. And
yeah, I'm trying here. I was like, Sean, hey, you sound so professional already. And it's like, okay, here we go. I was like, I'm already losing the battle here, but we'll keep trying.
I've got what, 200 and 300 and something episodes on you, so don't worry about it.
Not as much, aren't you?
So, and I will tell you that the first, 5, 10, 15 episodes of the Crushing Debt Podcast, maybe the first year of the Crushing Debt Podcast, back when it was called the Yesner Law Podcast, I can't stand those episodes. I can't listen to them anymore. The content is good. So if you want to go back and review the old content, the content is amazing.
Yes.
But I can't stand the way that I sounded on those first couple episodes. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Well,
I got to give you credit. My wife listened to a few of the episodes. She goes, man, this guy is smart. I actually like hearing what he has to say. So I was like, it's kudos to you, my friend, if my wife is already a subscriber here.
Thank you. Although you've heard the term fake it till you make it, right?
Yes. Been told that by my mom quite a few times. So it happens, but it's okay.
Yeah. I thought it would be a good perspective to have me and George talk about a handful of topics here. Him from the financial coach perspective, from the mindset perspective, me from the legal perspective.
Yeah.
And so we were going over. We've got a bunch of content for you that we'll cover over the next coming weeks. And certainly, if you have questions, you can contact us, and we'll see if we can knock out some answers to your questions. I always love answering listener questions, but the one I thought we'd talk about today is, what happens when life happens? What happens when stuff happens? What happens when you win the lottery?
Well, that hasn't happened yet, but I'll take that, man. When is that date for me? Because I'm still waiting.
I don't know. You're on the show. That's kind of like hitting the lottery, isn't it?
Wow, this guy is good. I like it. Yes, but I have won the lottery. But you're right. Life happens to us, and that's the thing that we seem to like what are we doing financially when these things happen? So it'd be nice if the lottery thing is what life happens, right? But what happens when, just things happen in our lives, like we get married or we have kids? What are we doing? As much as we like to think we're prepared, are we? And I think that's the big thing, for me, is like, are the numbers matching up to what we're seeing in our head, what we're saying in our heads? And that's the big thing. I mean, I've been through it with my wife, so I know the feeling that happens when we get to those life events.
Yeah, and one of the big things within bankruptcy law is that people that win the lottery tend to end up going broke or filing bankruptcy years later because they don't necessarily know how to spend all of that wealth.
Correct.
They just came into. I mean, even here at the office, I was showing you around the office, and it just recently happened, so I haven't really talked about it on the show, but we had a water loss here at the office.
Right.
Now, I've settled up with my insurance carrier, and they're sending me a check for the personal property that was lost, the desk that was damaged, the cabinet that was damaged. We had a computer and a monitor that got damaged. Mm-hmm. But frankly, they're sending me, and hopefully my insurance people aren't listening.
Are you sure you want to say this? I don't know.
They may be sending me more than I need to replace dollar for dollar everything that was lost. So I am sort of getting a financial windfall, and now the question is, what am I going to do with that money? Now, obviously, I'm going to reinvest it back into the law firm.
Smart move.
And figure, I'm going to buy the equipment that got damaged,
right? Yep.
But buy a new computer. I got another computer that needs repair. I got a monitor I need to replace. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
But I'm going to take the rest of that money and reinvest it in the law firm, the podcast, whatever. So even that, to a certain extent, is, I'm not going to say hitting the lottery because it's not fun dealing with an insurance claim, but it's money that I wouldn't have otherwise received.
Right.
So I guess you've got to get into that mindset of, okay, I'm getting this windfall. I also have to be careful not to spend it before I get it. There's a lot of times where I'm like, ooh, this client. I just had a client that if he hires me and I win, there's a pretty big payday for the law firm at the end of that road. But I've got to be careful to not include that in the budget until I actually win the case and the money comes in.
Makes sense.
And so that would seem to me to be the mindset that you're dealing with in terms of, okay, I'm getting this big windfall, I'm getting this big check, I'm getting this amount of money. Now, what do I do with it?
Well, let me tell you this. I think most Americans do this every year when it comes to tax season. So it's the windfall you have when it comes to taxes, and it's like, all this money I've been putting away or saving, and I get this big check. The kids, they get me this nice check at the April timeframe, and what is the first thing we do itself with that money? It's not reinvest. Or it's more of like, okay, some of us might be responsible. Don't get me wrong. It's like, let's pay the bills. Let's do that. But that's boring. That's boring, man. So what ends up happening is okay, let's do the vacation, or let's, buy the car, or, the kids need this, or whatever it is. But we never stop to go and say, what is it that we actually need to do with that money itself and have a plan? It's just more the money shows up, and most of us without a plan ends up just, like spending. We'll spend it on dinner. Get the lavish dinner. Hey, get that lobster and steak dinner, not realizing that, hey, maybe we can do something else better with that money and get something out of it. So,
well, I'll admit, or I'll confess, when our tax refund came in this year, we ended up booking tickets to, we're going to see Zac Brown Band. They're one of my favorite bands, one of my wife's favorite bands. Their song Free, for those of you that know Zac Brown Band, that was our first dance when my wife and I got married, which is coming up on 12 years. Yeah.
Oh, very sweet.
So that was our first dance. So we love Zac Brown Band. My kids love the Zac Brown Band.
Okay.
And so we're going to take them to their first live concert in October.
Very nice.
Which corresponds to my son's birthday, but we're going to take them to their first live concert in October to see Zac Brown Band. And so I took a little bit of the refund and used it to buy those tickets. What I did, and what I've talked about a lot on the show, is I don't like getting the refund because, to me, that's just an interest-free loan to the government.
Right.
So if I can sort of anticipate and know what my refund's going to be, I can adjust my withholdings so that I get less withheld, I get more in my paycheck every month.
Right.
I don't get as big a refund in February, March, April, but I have more money in my paycheck every month. I get more net that I get to bring home, and then I can do something with that money on a regular, maybe put it in savings on a regular basis, or unexpected expenses that come up and that kind of stuff. So that's typically the way that I think about
that.
Tax
Totally
refunds.
makes sense, but Sean, like, that sounds smart. That sounds sensible. But again, let's look at the reality itself and more. You
The W-4,
sign up.
the
There you go. You
withholdings.
sign up for a whole, your job itself. You do that once, and then 12 years later, you're supposed to look at it and say, "Let me make adjustments from that." Oops, that's not what happens in regards to that. It's like I do it once, and maybe I was single at the time, and then I'm supposed to make adjustments when I'm married or any of that kind of thing. So I think it's a great idea for folks to look at that, because you're right. If you're getting a tax refund, it's probably because you're not getting that money throughout the year, and there's opportunities that you probably could do throughout the year that's better spent than the windfall you feel like you're getting from the government at the April timeframe. So
And that's something that I needed to be really careful of. Is if I'm getting let's say something that divides easy, a $6,000 refund, I can't then say, well, give me an extra $500 a month,
right?
Because maybe my refund next year isn't going to be $6,000. Maybe my refund the next year is only going to be $4,000. And if I give myself an extra $500 in my paycheck every month, now I've got a $2,000 tax liability.
Right.
So I'm still trying to set it up where I get a refund. I just keep trying to nibble away at that refund so that it's not as big. And if it's like I said, a grand or two, then maybe I can use that money to, buy Zach Brown tickets or go on vacation or, do whatever. But yeah, that
makes sense.
The other interesting thing about taxes, at least from a bankruptcy perspective, the bankruptcy trustee also recognizes that taxes are really just income that has been overpaid to the government.
Correct.
But it's income that's already been earned and just overpaid to the government. So a lot of times when we're dealing with Chapter 7 bankruptcies, if there's a refund coming, that could be property of the bankruptcy estate. If we're dealing with Chapter 13s, the tax returns have to be given to the Chapter 13 trustee every year, and the refund has to be paid to the Chapter 13 trustee every year. And I've talked about that on other episodes. But again, something to be careful of when you get that windfall of a tax refund. Something to be careful of. Something to think about.
I mean, think about it. You had mentioned too, even lottery winners. Usually they go broke with that money itself in less than a year. Statistics wise, that happen. Same thing with the tax refund or these it's like we think it's like, okay, impulse, let's go. Let's, the behavior itself of like, I just got this money. All right, what I got to do? What's the thing that I've been wanting to do for years or any of these kind of things? And once again, the first thing that doesn't come is like investing and, setting up for the future. It's no. Like I've been wanting to buy this little toy or car or whatever it might be. And let's make that happen itself, because that's going to make me feel a lot better and feel a lot nicer in the sense of than investing for the future. Who cares about the future? That's coming later.
Right.
That's later's problem, not today.
That's tomorrow's Sean's problem, not today's Sean's problem. So if someone's listening and they're like, you know what, I am stuck in this, I get my refund and I go and I feel like I blow it. And
right.
Again, I don't want to make anybody feel bad.
No shame.
But if somebody's listening to this episode and they're thinking, what do I do to break that habit? What do I do so that I don't get the refund? I don't get the insurance payout and, quote, blow it on something that would be a, quote, waste. And again, I'm not saying if you want to go out and get yourself some Zach Brown tickets, if you want to go out and get yourself, this or that or the other thing, that's okay. Just don't, spend the entire refund on something that you're going to regret later. But if somebody's thinking, gosh, I do this on a regular basis, how would you suggest they try to break out of that habit?
I mean, that's the thing too. If we're always having buyer's remorse when it comes to these types of purchases, we've got to think about something differently. And most of the time, when we do the tax returns, right, and we do all of these kind of things, there's no planning for the money itself. It's like, oh no, the money comes, and then we're just gonna we'll figure it out later. And most of us, when we get into that trouble, the impulse, the behavior itself, whatever it might be, if you're a spender or a saver itself, the money is gonna go without a plan. Then you start wondering, like, oh man, like I could have done this. I said, what I would do differently is like, hey, you did your taxes, the money's coming, and if you're lucky enough, 4 to 5 days. But if you get the money itself, then let's set a plan. What are we doing with that money itself? Yes, let's have some money that's for fun. Let's have some money that, say thank you for a good year or whatever you want to think of it in that sense. But what else do we need to do? What are some of the priorities we have in the house that we need to take care of? Sometimes it's the kids. Sometimes it's the, saving for saving's sake. Like, let's think about like, hey, the emergency fund, if you got zero in there, you might want to pop something in, because I know as we talk, life happens.
Right.
Something's going to happen down the road. So trust me, putting it away for those kind of things. But I think for you, it's for us itself, plan for what we want to do with the money itself. That sounds so easy, but we always think of it as like, but what if it changes? It's okay. It's better to have a plan going into the situation than going and just spending the money and then not realizing you did nothing with it. And I think that's the big key there.
Got it. Thanks. So let's talk about some other stuff that can happen. One of the things I've always said a lot, when we were in 2008, 9, 10, the Great Recession, people kept saying, we need to stop foreclosures. We need to stop foreclosures.
Right.
And my response to that is, that's the wrong thing. You got to look at what causes foreclosures. And if you can stop that stuff,
right.
Look what causes foreclosure, what causes bankruptcy, stop that stuff.
Yep.
The problem is we're never going to stop that stuff, because that stuff is death of a wage earner,
right?
Sickness or illness or disability, the loss of a job or the loss of income,
right?
Divorce, those kinds of things. We're never going to stop divorce, unfortunately.
That's come on now.
Yeah, we're never
spread the love there, buddy.
Well, I mean, so hopefully I don't ever experience a divorce.
We won't. We love you, honey.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for your support, honey. I'll see you tonight.
Exactly.
We're never going to stop people from getting sick, from
right.
getting cancer, from getting, I talked on the show in the last couple of months about my diabetes diagnosis and how I'm fighting and dealing with that, which,
right.
So far good news. Sugar's under control. Everything's where it needs to be. But now my monthly expenses have increased because I am on some low dosage of medication.
Right.
I'm thankfully not on insulin shots, but still I got to take some pills every morning. I've got to go get my blood drawn now 4 times a year.
Right.
I've got to see my primary care 4 times a year. I've got to see the endocrinologist once or twice a year. And so all those, $25 copay.
You got to eat differently too. So, everything healthier is going to be up there too, buddy.
A lot more avocados are really expensive right now. A lot more avocados, a lot more fresh fruits, and a ton of vegetables.
Yes.
Now, at the same time, no rice, no potatoes. A lot less bread.
I'm sorry.
I'm cutting. I'm cutting a lot of that stuff out. But again, it's the concept, and like you said, it all goes back to mindset. So here I am diagnosed with this disability, not disability, disease, diabetes, and my first reaction was, I'm going to wholesale change the way that I eat and exercise, which, again, another thing. So luckily I do a lot of running, but otherwise I might have had to join a gym and incur the gym, join the gym, pay the monthly fees, and never go like most people do. So
never.
So again, that comes down to sort of a mindset thing of how you're going to deal with some of this stuff. So do you want to talk about, and we'll talk about when good stuff happens, but what about mindset when bad stuff happens?
I mean, you hit on it there too. You have to think about, like, when crisis happens, it's like life, your body, whatever it is, it's telling you we got to do something. Something's got to change. So when we talk about like your money crisis, and whether it's I can't afford the bill or living to paycheck, whatever it might be, you have to take a step back and go, okay, what's got us into this situation? A lot of us go to income. Oh, I'm just not making enough money. If I just made more money, that would be the case. And if you look at some of the statistics out there itself, you start to realize you make more money. What's in and the happening, it's the behavior. You're just going to spend more money. You're not going to, it's not the magic, like, oh, I'll just, make more money and we're good. No, when you make more money, you start thinking in your head, like, oh, I've got more money. Let me go spend it more. Let's go eat. Oh, honey, we got this. So I think what we got to try to figure out in these situations is yes, once we're in the situation, what do we need to do? And you did a great job, especially for your health. Obviously, why'd you do it too? Like, why make the change?
I did it because I want to have a beer with my kids when they turn 21.
Exactly. Gluten-free, maybe a little, I got you. But
well, and actually, so I've learned that beer spikes my sugar, obviously, but bourbon and rum have no impact on my sugar. So
this guy's going to be trying tequila soon, too.
There you go. So I want to have a bourbon with my kids legally. I want to have a bourbon. And so I got 11 years on one of them, and I got 13 years on another one. before I can do it legally. But yeah, I mean, and I want to be around for the family, the wife, the kids. Yeah, I'm having a good time, so
Right.
I want to continue to be here to enjoy it.
See, but that's the why. And that's the thing that gets us into these situations, especially even with money crisis. Like, okay, I want to get out of debt, or I don't want to, be paycheck to pay. Well, why do you want to do that? It's not I want to make more money. And no, that's the vehicle. That's what's going to get you to that point. It's like, no, I want to do this because I don't want to be a burden on my kids, or I want them to go to college. Or what if I lose my job? Am I going to be in that situation? Why wait till the event happens? Then you actually react itself. Some of us don't get lucky enough when the event happens to be able to actually do something. And you talk about like I lose my job. That's hard enough. But what if someone dies in the family? That's hard enough. So if you don't have the life insurance or the emergency fund or any of these things in place, which is again good planning to do those things, you leave the people behind with even a heart. They not only lost you, right, but they now have a situation that they have to deal with while they're trying to grieve the loss. Right. And that's so difficult.
Although for me, I have always joked with my wife. I've got so that when I graduated and passed the bar, the Florida bar sent me, I get life insurance through the Florida bar.
Of course.
And then when we learned we were pregnant with our first, I went out and I got another life insurance policy. So I am worth more dead than alive.
So she's good. She's I love you, honey, but we good. We good.
I worry about what she puts in my food sometimes because I'm worth a lot more dead than alive.
Well, I joke with my wife all the time with that as well. She doesn't like the joke, but she appreciates it. But she does. I'm a little afraid because she does listen to a lot of crime podcasts and things like that. So I'm like, sweetie, what are you trying to tell me? She goes, I just need to be prepared. I need, you to always tell people plan ahead. So just in case. I was like, sweetie, I love you. Don't worry. We're good.
Yeah. I'm not a criminal attorney. I can't help you there.
I appreciate that.
But yeah, I mean, again, I think it all comes down. So I do have a comfort level of knowing I've got life insurance in place in case something happens to me. My wife also works and so has a small life insurance policy in case something happens to her. But it was funny. I was sitting there with the doctor when I first got diagnosed, and he also said, you've got high blood pressure. And so he said, "Are you under any stress?" and that was my reaction. I laughed at him. And I was like, "Doc, I'm the primary breadwinner for a family of 4 that owns my own company, which, by the way, happens to be a law firm.
Right.
What do you think?"
Yeah.
So he was like, "Yeah, I think I'm going to put you on a blood pressure medicine. That's what I think."
Go get some meditation while you're doing that too.
Yeah,
it's like a little yoga.
You're gonna have to, but but again, I mean, everything's under control. It's just like you said, it's a mindset thing where you just gotta, you gotta deal with it. One of the big things I see in my business is people don't want to deal with it. I talked about a situation a couple of episodes ago where a good friend of mine let his house go to foreclosure, and when he didn't want to think about it. I think the point there is, reach out. You can reach out and talk to me. You can reach out and talk to George. You can talk to a friend. I know a professional, I forget, psychologist, psychiatrist. I forget whichever one is the doctor. Sorry, guys.
Who gives the drugs?
Right. Whichever one is the doctor. I've got one that you can talk to.
There you go.
A couple other people. So I think the important thing there is reach out, talk to somebody.
I mean, that's the thing itself. I think one of us, we all think in these situations we're alone. Like nobody is going through this. No one's ever been through this itself. And it's like, no. We've, there's plenty of people who've gone through the situation itself. I mean, I'll tell you quickly my story itself. Like where were we? Like I'm a New Yorker, right? So fellow, from New York, born and kind of raised in the Bronx. My mom, single mom, 2 kids. She probably never made more than $45 a year in New York City. All right. So and she raised 2 kids through Catholic school, which again is not public, so that means there's an expense, to high school, and send 2 kids itself to college for the first time. So it was like no one else in the family has done it at that point. My mom is from Puerto Rico, so I think she has no more than an 8th grade level, but she worked for a big insurance company and was able to do that. So for me, it was like, okay, not having anything. And I'm like, 4 years ago, my wife and I, we're making 6 figures. We're doing everything that's right. We're supposed to be American dream. We got a house and everything. And we're like, dude, who's paying for lunch? Well, how do we do this? What are we doing? And life, so we had 2 kids. We're like, oh my God, our oldest is getting ready. We're going to, college is coming up soon. What are we going to do? So like, there's a life event, right? Like, kids are getting older. What are we going to do in regards to that? And it was like, we've got to change. Because I love eating out. So I'm a spender. I love my wife. We love doing those kind of things. And we're just like, something's got to change. Mindset wise, we've got to do something different. So 4 years ago, my wife and I, Google, there's plenty of stuff on Google.
Right.
There's plenty of stuff on YouTube. All of that itself is great, but then I had to get a coach. I had to get someone who can help me, understand how it applies to me, because guys, there's no one way to do this. There's plenty of ways to do this itself. Customizing it for you is based off of your behaviors. So understanding what you need to do, that's what that's what we did. My wife and I went on our journey. 3 years into that journey itself, and yes, unfortunately, I had all types of debt, dude. So it was like $120K paid.
Wow.
All right. So thank God, we made good money. I greatly appreciate that. But we were intentional with getting out of debt. So investing, we're doing all of those kinds of things. Again, we're still learning every day. Trust me, I wish I had the same budget I had, 4 years ago. It's like, no, dude, it changes every month. We do something different. So now we're preparing. My daughter, my oldest, Isabella, she's going to college, getting ready to graduate. My youngest, 13, Layla, she's getting ready to graduate to go to high school. So life events, and let me tell you, we invested a lot in Kleenex because we're going to be crying.
You know what occurred to me? So we just took our kids. I just took my boys earlier this week to the dentist. Clean bill of health, no cavities.
Good. But they're going to sell you braces, trust me.
Well, so the dentist says to me with the older one, the dentist said that kids lose teeth in 2 stages. They got the one stage where they lose the front teeth, top and bottom, and they have a second stage where they lose like the canines and the molars and that kind of stuff. Yeah, And so both kids cavity free, no problems, no issues. But the dentist said my younger son was done with phase 1, so no more front teeth coming out. And my first thought was, awesome, because inflation has hit the tooth fairy so hard. I remember one time we only had, the only thing I had in my wallet was a $10 bill.
Oh, no.
And so I'm like,
a zero.
I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't give my kid $10 for a tooth.
You set the expectations way too high if you do that, buddy.
Oh, Lord. So I'm like, sweet, the tooth fairy gets to save on some money for a while, because my younger son, in the last 2-3 months, has lost like 4 teeth.
He's dry. He's like, Dad, we got investment money.
Good
Come on.
Lord. So, but my older son, according to the dentist, is getting ready to start losing his canines and his molars. And I'm like, maybe it's time to tell my older son the tooth fairy really doesn't exist and save on some money that way.
Well, you got to be nice. What happens is we got to start with quarters. We automatically go with the bills. My mom was like, here's a quarter, here's 50. But I know, I understand. Back in the day, it was like, 25 cents get you at least a juice and maybe a Twinkie.
Exactly. So with these, God, the tooth fairy, inflation has hit the tooth fairy hard. But I do kind of want to. Well, so one thing I wanted to talk about was, it all sort of seems to me to come down to planning.
Yeah.
Plan to have life insurance, have disability insurance, have savings in the bank in case of a job loss, that kind of stuff. But, sort of like you said, if for the listeners out there that are they're feeling bad about this episode because I don't have a life.
I'm so sorry.
Well, so what do they do? What would be the advice to somebody who says, I need to look into a life insurance policy, or I need to look into a disability policy, other than, contact one of us to get a referral to an agent? What's the mindset of how do I change the habit of now I need to set aside $50 a paycheck to pay for this, or $100 a paycheck to pay for that? How do they start working on that kind of a mindset to save for when the unexpected happens?
I mean, the thing you have to look at it is, yes, the budget, you need the numbers to work, all that stuff. But for me, it's what's going to motivate you to actually do it. What's your why? Why are you doing these things? Why is it important for you to put aside $50 a paycheck to save or vacation or whatever it might be. A lot of us think like, okay, YouTube and the internet and everything is telling me I have to do these things. Even Sean's telling you it's important to do these things. But you got to, at the end of the day, go, well, why do I want to do it? What is my purpose itself to save and have an emergency fund? These kind of things, get out of debt or save for retirement or invest to make more money. Making more money is just, it's kind of the goal. But why do you want to do it? You have to know your why, because that's what's going to get you, it gets you up in the morning to actually go to work and work 12 hours and be stressed. And have your doctor tell you, hey, dude, go get your medication and meditate a little bit more. But at the end, you got to know what you're doing it for. And it's easy when we have kids, right? When we have the family and stuff like that, it's like, well, I'm doing it because I want my kids to have a good life. I want them to have all the opportunities and the success itself. But look individually. Look for, between you and your spouse or yourself, and say, I work because I want to, have more, do more, or because I want to have security or stability. I don't want to be stressed at night. Some of us might be, hey, I just want to sleep.
Yeah, I want to sleep at night.
I want to sleep at night. So once you know that motivation, then it's like, hey, let me learn a little bit more about how to do this, and then it's putting those things into practice. And I think that's, if you have that mindset and that mentality, you're not going to be perfect though. Don't get me wrong. It's like, as much as you think like tomorrow, now I have the mindset, I'm good, right? It's going to be a lot of practice. It's a lot of, things that you change on a daily basis. And I guarantee you, if you apply same kind of techniques when it comes to your money, to like your exercise routine, it's the results that you're looking for, right? It's, but what's going to get you to actually go and do the run, or actually go and save the money, or work overtime, or do something of that nature? It's the behaviors. So find that motivation, and then we can put the basic math into practice.
And I would also say, don't beat yourself up. So
yeah,
if you get this, if you change your mindset, or if you adjust your mindset, and you're able to start saving, and then something happens one week where you need that extra $50, that paycheck, you need that extra $50 for something, and you're not able to save it, don't beat yourself up over it. Just the next week, go back to saving it again, or drop it to 25 instead of 50, or 50 instead of 100, or whatever it is. But do something, and don't beat yourself up if things go sideways.
Yeah, and I think all of us do that. We're so tough on ourselves, where it's like, well, I had the perfect budget and I'm off by 50 cents, so now it's done. We're done. It can never work. It's like, guys,
spend. Just start spending. The world is ending.
To Amazon, right? So like all of a sudden you got this fleet of trucks dropping off boxes. But you're absolutely right, man. I think all of us, we think we've got to be perfect at it, and it's like, no. I guarantee you, like I said, 4 years ago, I don't have the same budget. I don't have the same responsibilities. Things change over time. Having a budget and having a situation-wise that's flexible, because that's what life is going to be. You're going to have to be flexible with life. Things are going to happen. You got to figure those things out. So I think just doing those and putting those into practice each day, you'll get a lot closer to what you want to accomplish when it comes to money.
Cool. So let's sort of wrap up the episode with the good things.
Yes.
So college, the lottery, marriage, birth of a child. How do those things impact your mindset, impact your budget?
I mean, they're all happy occasions because we're doing something different. We're doing something new. I guarantee you, my kid is excited about going to college and the possibilities and the opportunities, right? So I think you look at all of those kind of things. Getting married. I remember when we got married itself. It's like, hey, getting gifts, right? No, I'm just kidding. But just getting married, being with the person you love, and spending the time. But the change in life. There's always what's next. What are we doing next? And like I said, plan things out. What are we going to do now with this new opportunity life opportunity being presented to ourselves? What do we do next?
Right.
What do we have to do itself to save for it? Hey, because right away when you get married, it's like, I need a house, right? We need a car. We need this. We need that. Oh, we're having kids. So being available in your budget to talk and see things through. What are we doing next? And like I said, planning is important. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just saying, hey, let me plan to make sure we understand exactly where we want to be next, so that we're not being reactive at every life change. It's more of like we're in charge and in control of what we're doing next.
So I remember a story about some people, and I can't remember if a friend told me this story or if I know these people directly, but they got married, they registered at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Right.
So they got all the stuff. They didn't open a single thing from Bed Bath & Beyond.
Okay.
They didn't open a single gift from Bed Bath & Beyond. They went and they returned everything to Bed Bath & Beyond.
Okay.
And got store credit for everything. Then what they did, they waited a couple of days, a week, a month, whatever. They went back, and then you know how you get those 20% off coupons.
Okay.
They bought the same stuff back with the 20% off coupons.
Okay, that's pretty smart though.
Yeah, I was like, that sounds wrong. But
It sounds a little wrong, but
it sounds brilliant to me.
I got it. That's amazingly brilliant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we just got a tip, guys.
So I wouldn't suggest that you do that as your job, but I thought that was brilliant. But quick question, because I know, with me and my wife, when we got married, in my mind, it's all one bucket. So I bring in X amount of dollars.
Right.
She brings in X amount of dollars. It's all one bucket. But I added her to my account. She added me to her account.
Right.
But we kept it separate. So her paycheck goes into, quote, her account. My paycheck goes into, quote, my account.
Right.
But then between us, I know I'm responsible for all the mortgage, the utilities, she's responsible for the kids' expenses, so the after school care and that kind of stuff, and she's responsible for groceries.
Yep.
And so we split up the responsibilities that way, but we still have separate bank accounts. Is good, bad? Does that? What do you think?
Well, I mean, depends on where you're coming from or school of thought. It's like, separate, but for me, it's like, hey, does it work for you? Because here's the thing, you guys. What I hear in what you just explained was we have a budget. We know what money is coming in, and we know where it's going in regards to that. So whether you have it all in one budget, one account or separate accounts, some people. For me, my wife and I have separate accounts.
Okay.
And it's not that she doesn't trust or anything like that. She goes, I just, you give that feeling of like my money. Yes, it's towards the home. She takes care of the kids. She does what she, groceries, all the good things itself. But, it's that feeling of like, it's mine, and she has, it's a control.
Yeah.
So there's no wrong in that situation. Some people might be going, no, but what I'm saying, we're all contributing to the house. It's our home. We're helping each other in that situation.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not a matter of trust. I mean, if we get to a stage where an unexpected expense comes up on my end, I may pull some money from her account to make up that difference, and vice versa. If something unexpected happens on her end, she may pull, and more often than not, she pulls money from me.
I was about to say, it's
But the other thing we did when each of my sons was born, so we're lucky in that my parents both get Social Security. My parents are doing fine. My dad is a CPA. He's retired now, but he set himself up and he set us up for success in retirement.
Right.
So they don't need their Social Security. So my mom's Social Security funds my niece's 529 plan, college plan, and funds each of my kids.
That's awesome.
My two boys. So what we now do is whenever, my wife's grandmother's still alive. All four grandparents are still here. So whenever the boys get a check for whatever, for the holidays or for their birthdays or for whatever, we started a savings account. We throw it in there. Now, I know what a lot of people are saying. Savings account and, inflation, and you're not going to earn interest on it, blah, 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 blah.
0.10 or 0.11. We get it.
Whatever. But, over 18 years,
exactly.
There's probably going to be $3, $4, $5 in each account. And so when they do go off to college, here's an account that's got a couple of grand in it that you can start using right away. So that's how we did it.
The thing is, you're teaching your kids the value of saving as well. So yes, it's not about like, okay, let's make you millionaires by the time you're 18. I mean, that's one way to do it.
Right.
But you're setting a foundation for them to say, hey, you get money. There's few things you can do with it. Savings is probably a good habit to have when you're 8 years old, even though they might agree with you, man. If it's like about Fortnite or let's do something like that, please.
My older son can constantly. can I buy this? We have the in-app purchases disabled on all the
smart
machines.
Man.
Yeah,
Smart
I disabled
man.
it. But my older son will come up to me all the time. I want to get this $5.99 thing for this game. I want to get this $3.99 thing for that game. And what I keep saying to him, and I think he's learned by now because my dad used to do sort of the same thing with me. So I've said, okay, but if you buy this, $3.99 upgrade for the game,
right,
it's going to have to come out of your savings,
right,
or it's going to have to come out of the Tooth Fairy money, or it's going to have to come out of this or that. And so sometimes he'll say, you know what, I don't need it. Sometimes he'll say, you know what, it's worth it.
Right.
And where I think he's learning now is every time he's like, you know what, it's worth it. And then he tries to hand me the $3. And I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. I'm not going to take your.
Oh, Dad, come on now.
I probably should be stronger and be like, thank you. That's another drink for me. But I think he's learned that now. So, but still trying to teach him. We're going in a couple of weeks. We're going to Legoland on a little 3-day vacation. And so we've got these. They've taken their cash that they get and they want to turn them into gift cards.
Right. And
so now I'm teaching them, okay, you each have gift cards in the amount of whatever, $50, $100, whatever it is. So you can buy whatever you want at Legoland. But if you blow it on cotton candy and popcorn and all this other stuff, you can't buy the Lego set you want.
That's it.
And if you buy the Lego set you want, maybe you don't have enough money to get the cotton candy and the popcorn and the ice cream so trying to teach them money and budgeting that way.
No, that's the perfect way to do it, man, because it's they've got to see it in action. So they see us, our kids see us in action when it comes to spending. And if we don't know the true definition of a no, it's one of those kind of things that they're going to think growing up, like, oh, I'll just keep making money or doing something like that, and the money will show up. I'm like, I'm still looking for the money tree in the backyard, my friend, and it's not there.
Although, as a dad, I don't ever want to be in a position where I have to say to my kids, we can't afford that.
That's a good point.
So now there's been some situations come up where I've said no, but I don't ever want, to me, I don't want to feel like I have to be in a situation where I say, dude, I'm sorry, I can't.
Right.
When there's been 1 or 2 times that's happened, I've figured out a different excuse. Right. Which is maybe where the attorney training comes in pretty well. Go. Part of the problem with Legoland is that my mom is going. And both sets of grandparents love to spoil the boys.
Ah, boy.
So I'm sure they've even learned by now. I'm going to take my gift card. I'm going to spend it on that Lego set because Grandma's going to buy me cotton candy and ice cream and popcorn and all this other nonsense.
Smart kids.
Yeah, they're.
I remember my mom was the no, so it's all good. So I'm still a no with my kids, but my wife and I we learned that there's going to be limits. Especially when we were getting out of debt and stuff like that. It's like, well, sacrifice. We want to make a little bit more progress here and there, but if you hear in this content, guys, it's all about you can have fun. Like, I understand debt and getting out of debt and all of these things. But put some fun into what we do and trying to get out of debt itself, because
budget for it.
Yeah, budget. Of course. Come on, man. You're talking to the coach here. Yes,
budget
for it, because I'm telling you, that's what's going to motivate you to move forward. If you're just eating the rice and beans or anything like that, and that's all you're doing, man, that's going to get lame pretty quick.
It's going to get old quick.
But sprinkle in some, and I won't say no donuts to you, but sprinkle in some fun in there. It's gonna keep you motivated and keep you wanting to move forward with whatever goals you might set when it comes to that. So, man, that's
my wife. I love her. She drives me crazy. We'll go out for dinner, and she'll be like, "I want to get this drink, but how much is it?" I'm like, if a $10 drink is going to break us, it's probably not a $10
well, it's 11
drink.
Probably,
right?
Yeah.
but if one drink is going to break us, we got bigger issues than going out to dinner. So just schedule it in, have some fun, give yourself a treat. Don't beat yourself up so much. So
please.
I do want to talk real quick about our other sponsor. So our second sponsor is Mark Purvis. He is running a website called LegacySpotlight.com. So here's the cool thing about what Mark is doing. He's going to work with you, whether you're mom, dad, grandmother, grandfather, whatever. He's going to work with you to record those family stories. I mean, I remember talking to my grandparents about the lines and the descendants. I know my wife's grandfather, before he passed away, was very much into the genealogy and tracing back and all that kind of stuff. And so that's what Mark is doing through LegacySpotlight.com. He's an Emmy Award-winning videographer. He's got over 23 years experience. He has done videos for me. He edits the podcast every week. And so he's got this website, LegacySpotlight.com, to record those stories. Grandma and grandpa want to record the family history, or if you want to record a message for your kids, or if you want your grandparents to record a message for your kids, that's what Mark can do. So again, you can contact him, LegacySpotlight.com. Other than that, I will put George's contact information again in the notes. You will definitely be hearing from George again on future episodes, but it's CurbelloFinancialCoaching.com or GCFinancialCoach21@gmail.com. George, thank you. Thank you for coming in and being a guest this week.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to just talking more.
Yeah, absolutely. We will definitely talk more. You will definitely hear George on future episodes. But I think for now, that'll do it on this week's episode of the podcast. And I think this week's episode does definitely play into that we want you to have more money at the end of the month rather than more month at the end of the money. So that'll do it for this week's episode, and we look forward to talking to you in next week's episode of the Crush and Get podcast.
If you have questions that you think would make a great topic for a future episode, please email Sean or connect with us on social media. Sean Yesner and Yesner Law, PL, are Florida licensed attorneys. The information contained in this week's episode is not a substitute for legal advice. Your situation may differ, especially if you are located somewhere other than the state of Florida. If you have questions, please contact our office or contact a local attorney. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast.